Welcome to the Filmtrepreneur Podcast, episode number 45. Good, better, best. Never let it rest till your good is better and your better is best. St. Jerome.
This is the Filmtrepreneur Podcast, where we teach you the top strategies, tactics, and growth hacks that every indie filmmaker needs to know to make money with their films. We are the podcast that puts the business back into show business. And here's your host, Alex Ferrari.
Welcome to another episode of the Filmtrepreneur Podcast. I am your humble and quarantined host, Alex Ferrari. Today's show is sponsored by Rise of the Filmtrepreneur, how to turn your independent film into a profitable business. It's harder today than ever before for independent filmmakers to make money with their films. From predatory film distributors ripping them off to huckster film aggregators who prey upon them, the odds are stacked against the indie filmmaker. The old distribution model of making money with your film is broken, and there needs to be a change. The future of independent filmmaking is the entrepreneurial filmmaker or the filmtrepreneur. In Rise of the Filmtrepreneur, I break down how to actually make money with your film projects and show you how to turn your indie film into a profitable business. With case studies examining successes and failures, this book shows you the step-by-step method to turn your passion into a profitable career. If you're making a feature film, series, or any other kind of video content, the Filmtrepreneur method will set you up for success. The book is available in paperback, ebook, and of course, audiobook. If you want to order it, just head over to www.filmbizbook.com. That's filmbizbook.com. Before we get started, guys, I set up a special link to help people affected by the coronavirus, and you can donate to Feed America. There is a lot of people in need out there, and Feed America is a great organization, and they're helping millions of people on a daily basis, and they also need your help. If you want to donate even $5, $10, it goes a long way. Head over to indiefilmhustle.com/help. Hey guys, I hope your quarantine is as good as it can be, but today I have a treat for you because today we're going to be talking about low budget, micro budget producing, specifically producing, how to get a project, a micro budget or low budget project done from soup to nuts. And today's guest is seasoned film producer and best-selling author Suzanne Lyons. Now, Suzanne's been in the industry for over 20 years and has produced films between $100,000 and below to over $7 million and working with major studios. So she's seen everything in the gambit of independent film producing. And I wanted to have her on the show to talk about not only all her experience and ask her some really deep questions in regards to tricks and tips on how to be a good film producer, but we're also going to discuss our course that we teamed up on called the Complete Indie Film Producing Workshop. And we will be talking about that. And at the end of this episode, I will give you a link to get a 50% discount on the course. So without any further ado, please enjoy my conversation with the lovely Suzanne Lyons. I'd like to welcome back to the show Suzanne Lyons. Suzanne, thanks for being back.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm excited to be back.
You were one of my first guests. I think you were episode 10 and 11.
Wow. I love being a 10. Let's go with a 10. Yeah.
Your first interview was so long I had to cut it in half because we just kept talking so much good stuff in that interview.
Oh God.
It was great, but I wanted to bring you fun. Back. Of this recording, we're over 250 episodes.
Whoa.
Of the podcast. So it's been
wow.
I would guess it's a success. I've been doing it for 3 years.
God. Yeah,
I've been doing it for over 3 years now. So I think it's doing okay right now. But
nice.
But I wanted to have you come back so I can pick your brain a little bit more about specific things about producing independent film in today's world, because a lot has changed in the last 3 years since last time we did this.
Wow.
So first and foremost, what is the biggest mistake you see filmmakers make when they're producing an independent film?
Oh my God, that's a good question. We could probably do an hour on the phone, maybe a day. Let's do a day.
Exactly.
Do you have time? Yeah.
Exactly.
Because God knows I've made some of those, whatever that list is. I've been there. But I think the main one is, and this is one that I probably didn't do for some reason, because of my business background or whatever, is I think the main mistake that film producers do is that they don't put the business hat on, Alex. It's kind of like, well, I'm the creative type. Maybe they're a writer before that, or maybe they're a writer during this time. They're directing as well, maybe, or acted. I remember one of my girlfriends, oh, Suzanne, I've been acting for 15 years now. Believe me, I've been on enough sets to know, how to produce a movie. Come on, and she would not take my class because she's argued with me that, no, I know. But I got to tell you, being on a set is not the same as all the business stuff that comes before being on the set, and even the stuff that is happening on the set as a producer's hat versus, somebody else's hat. So I think the business stuff is so important, and people forget to do it. I had somebody who could never sell their movie afterwards because she didn't get any of the paperwork done. There was no chain of title, no option agreement, nothing.
What are these things you speak of? Chain title, option agreements. You're speaking like another language. What is? No, I'm joking. Go ahead.
No, exactly. No, but that's it though. And they would look at me like, oh, I don't need to know that stuff.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I do.
I actually stole something from you from our first interview, and I've said it constantly. The word show, and there's the word business, and the word business has twice as many letters as the word show. I give you credit most of the time, not all the time.
Not all the time.
Most of the time I give you credit, but people just love it because it's so true. It's so true. You really have to understand the business of it.
It's honest to God, you're right. I mean, it's just, and nobody does because they think, oh, well, how hard is it, right? But if you're now, if your movie's all done, you've got $50,000 from your family or your visa, or worse, people that are investors in your movie, and it's $100,000. And now it comes time, and your sales agent says, "Send me the option agreement, send me the cast, deal memos, send me all the chain of title stuff that you did, through Washington, send me all this stuff." And you're sitting there shaking your head. What does that mean? Then you're in trouble because they can't go and sell it unless there's a clear chain of title, unless they have all the paperwork. But as producers is, well, I'm the creative type, Suzanne. I don't need that. Sorry, the creative type in the end, they'll never, ever, ever see your movie because there's no paperwork. So that I think I'd have to underline 1,000,000 times, Alex, in terms of the worst mistake.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. When I did my first feature, This Is Meg, which was a micro budget feature, I knew all these things that you were talking about. And I'm like, I'll get to them. To them. And you know what? At the end of the day, when we sold it to a couple territories, they started asking, "Where's the chain of title? Where's this?" You're like, oh shoot, I gotta go do that real quick. I pushed it off as long as possible, but but at least I knew what these people were speaking of, so I knew what to go get them, and I could provide those deliverables for them. But so a lot of filmmakers listening now, like, oh, that's only for big movies like 50,000 or 100,000.
No.
Even if you got a $5,000 movie and you're trying to sell it, and you do sell it, and you don't have those things, you can lose the deal without question.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, one of the girls, what happened is she said to the sales agent, she was actually at Cannes when a sales agent said, "We really love it. And, and we'd like to, we're here now. We'd like to start saying we'd like to pick it up." And that's when she called me crying on the phone. She was crying and she told me the story. And I said, "Oh, congratulations. Is that why you're calling? This is so great." And she was crying saying, "No," she said, "I just called the writer to do the agreement," even though it's now, 1.5 years, 2 years later. Right. And she said, and the writer said that in the interim, she had a fight with the director, and together. And she said, "And what I decided is that film can burn in hell for all I care."
Nice.
And hung up. Yes, I promise, Alex. And that was not a 50,000. That was a couple of 100,000. It was a few years ago. And that was with investors. And like I say to people, if it's your own visa, I don't care. I don't care. Show it as your home movie, to your family. I don't care. But if it's somebody else's money, oh man, you don't mess around with that. You do the paperwork. And that's why she was crying, because she said she'll never, ever, ever. And that's got to go back 10 years, and that movie will still and never see the light of day, nor will the investors ever make their money back.
Oh, so sad. That's so sad.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you, what is a business plan and a mission statement? I hear those words so often, and I know what they are, but I'd like you to explain it to the audience.
Oh, okay. With the business plan, and it's interesting you mentioned that because I just read one yesterday. Someone sent me a business plan yesterday, and I got to tell you, it was so long. So long, and gave information that I don't need. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I was sitting there thinking, if I was my dentist, who I know goes golfing every Friday, right? Mm-hmm. And what's he going to do if you're going to give him this business plan? And he sees, and I thought, my God, he would go blurry-eyed and probably throw it in the garbage, right? Because what's he going to do? Is he going to read something that's 70 pages or 60 pages, or is he going to go golfing? Guess what? He's going to go golfing. However, if it's about 10 or 15 pages and very clear, very to the point, very succinct, he's going to read it.
No, to go back for a little bit, let's start from the beginning. Why do you need a business plan? What's the purpose of the business plan when trying to raise money for a film?
Okay. Well, what I do is some people do their business plan, which is kind of like your, what people call a pitch deck nowadays, where it's your basic, here's your, maybe it's a quote to start with. I would often start with a quote of a movie that was quite successful that somebody had talked about, such and such was done for 200,000 and made 250 million, or, I'd start with a nice quote on the front page. And then what it really is about then is maybe the synopsis, maybe your bios, the people that are already on your team, and the maybe the comparables, like film Halloween was done for 350,000 and made, 120 million, whatever. Sure. So, you give those comparables and you'd kind of do your pitch, your marketing pitches. This is how it could go. And here's the demographic and, all of that kind of usual stuff. However, what I add to mine, because I don't usually do that, I usually wait and send my business plan out to investors, period. And that's why I always include with my business plan my PPM and my operating agreement. So therefore, my business plan has a few additional pages to it, which is the investor proposal, which you wouldn't put in a normal business plan if it was just going out to everybody online, right? Mm-hmm. And it also has what we called a revenue scenario, which is another page that enticed the investors, which says if this is what, these are the estimates we got, the low end is going to be the movie will make, it only costs 200,000 and it's going to make 1.2 million. And the high end, it'll make 2.5 million, for example. And here's what it's going to cost. The sales agent may charge 40,000 for expenses and 20% for commission. And then we kind of minus that. And then we show that. And those pages they were very, very interested in. And of course, everybody loves comparisons, even though they're bullshit. Just because Halloween did that, does that mean mine's going to make,
Listen, Halloween, Paranormal Activity, and the Blair Witch is on every comparable horror business plan ever.
There you go.
And one's from 1970 something. When did Halloween come out? Like 79, 80, 81?
Oh, probably doesn't matter. 100 years from now, we're still going to be quoting Halloween made such and
such. Back in the day, they use it constantly. So it is BS. So, but it's nice. It's fluff. It's cotton candy. It's, just kind of, it sparkles.
Exactly. And if you're the investor, you're thinking, you know what? Yeah, it's every 10 years, but guess what? This is the 10 year. Maybe this is the one, Right. So in mind, just to give you exactly what's in mind is that quote on the first page. The second page is the investor proposal, because that's really what they care about. If they're reading this business plan that is going out to the investors here, that's all they care about is how much am I going to make? Not how much am I going to make, but what percentage of ownership am I going to have kind of thing. And then how does it all play out? Am I 50-50 partner? It explains it. And mine is literally a half a page. The bottom part of that page is explaining risk in capital letters all over the place on the bottom of the page. Right. Mm-hmm. I love that word. And you would not believe how many people forget to put that word in all the time. Anytime I do it, I think it's in capital letters, what you're saying is you'd be stupid to invest in this, right? Because of the risk. But the bigger, the uglier you make it look,
the more they're attracted to it.
Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of times they're investing not just for the money, they're investing for the fun of it, for the prestige, especially in the lower budget. They're wanting to come out and kind of maybe be on set, maybe be an extra, maybe have one line in the movie, have some fun with it, maybe sing a song. Like we had 2 or 3 of our movies, the song in the end roll credit was one of our investors or one of our investors' daughters in one case or son in another case. So,
right.
For us, it's kind of like for the fun,
Yeah, for us, it's not a big deal to be on set or be, but to people outside the business, it's still a thing. We still have Hollywood still has that kind of sheen on it still.
Yeah, exactly. And then the rest of my business plan, the next piece is the project objective, like what we plan to do. Is it just going to be a one-off horror film? I'm just going back and thinking of some of mine 10 years ago, 12 years ago. Or are we doing a slate of them? If we are, here's, and that was one paragraph once again, probably about 150 words. Then the next page was the marketplace, kind of explaining this is what's happening in the world of horror films. And, this is what Hollywood Reporter is saying about it. And I just chose quotes from different variety and different industry magazines and put those quotes in there. Horror films make a killing at the box office, Hollywood Reporter. So I did that kind of page. The next page was the film comparisons, as I mentioned. The next page was the company summary. Here's what's going on with Snowfall Films, kind of our company bio. And then after that was the team. Who were the people who were on board? Maybe the bio on me, the bio on Kate at the time, the bio on the writer. Once again, those were half-page bios. And then maybe you might have your composer, even though it's early, but maybe your composer is a friend of yours and he won a Sundance. In the case of ours, he had just won a Sundance Award. So it was worth putting in there. Even our costume designer at the time had won some big awards. And so it was another friend. And so we put her bio in there. So, a few pages on your team and then the synopsis. This is what the film's about. And then I mentioned that revenue scenario that the investors loved. And then I put an article from the LA Times that talked about how great horror films were doing at the time. Now, I'm not doing horror films anymore. I'm talking about this as 10, 12 years ago when they were very popular. Sure. And then at the time, Alex, we had what was called Section 181 in this country, which offered, the accredited investors the opportunity to go as high as 100% tax write-off, actually. So I had that 2-pager in there that I just pulled down from the Job Creation Act online. I pulled down the 2-pager, a page and a half on Section 181. That's gone now, isn't it? Yes, it is. Yeah, It's gone. It's been gone for 2 years. Well, you were grandfathered last year. I think you were either grandfathered into it. If you finished in 2016, yes, 2017, you were grandfathered. If you did a couple, even 5 or 10 minutes, I think, of shooting or one day of shooting, there was some stipulation. But then it ended, of course, January 1st, 2017.
Any chance of it ever coming back?
I don't know. I've heard rumors that it may be coming back. But at this point, I don't know. But I do keep checking every now and then I'll go online. Corky Kessler was one of the attorneys that I, spoke to and still do speak to from time to time about it. And I would advise getting in touch with him because he's the guy who, was the big advocate for it when it was all happening, I believe, at the time.
And then also, what's a mission statement in regards to the business plan? Yes,
you're right. Then there's the last thing. And I didn't do this in the first one, just so you know, the mission statement. I didn't put it in, even though Kate and I had a mission statement, which I'll mention, and Heidi and I had a mission statement for Flash Forward Institute years ago as well. But I didn't put it in. I didn't think it was important, which is crazy. But I put it in the second one. And do you know that we had an investor come on board just based on the mission statement alone, which if you go online and check on Snowfall Films right now, snowfallfilms.com, my mission statement is there. And I got to tell you, a mission statement, what it does is it really kind of gives the basis of what you're all about as a company. It's almost like an actor sharing about themselves of the kind of roles that they love to do, or a writer about the kind of scripts. Like it's the essence of who you are in a way, right? And why you love to do something or why you're passionate about that. It's really like that. And some people, it's only like a log line, 1 or 2 sentences. In the case of Kate and I, it's about a page. And with Heidi and I, when we did the Flash Forward Institute one. I don't know if that's online, but that was phenomenal as well. It took us a week to write it. With Kate and I, it took us a week to write the one for Snowfall. It's really kind of sharing about, this is the essence of what this company is all about. And this is what our commitment is to you and to the world, you know, in the area of entertainment. And this is what we plan to bring to the world, you know, whatever it happens to be for you. So I think it's very important. Awesome. And when I teach at Columbia College, just the last month of the master's program, when the students come down from Chicago. It's really fun every April. And I had them write, as part of their homework, a mission statement, you know, and I think it was the first time, I think the person in charge actually said it was the first time anyone had asked for that. But I said, it will give them, I said, I wish somebody had asked me to do it, you know, when I first started in the world of business, you know, after university, because it settles something within yourself. It forces you to kind of look deep and go, what really am I committed to? Do I want to make a difference? Do I just want to have some fun? Is it kind of about money like it has you look at what's driving you? You know, what is it that you really are passionate about, and what do you want to do, and what is that purpose? And I have them do a personal and one for their career. And I advise everybody to do one of each, actually. It's interesting because years ago when I first did my first one, I think I was around 30, around late 20s, early 30s. And I was doing the personal one, and I wrote down on my mission statement who I was, because I kept writing who I am all the way down. I wrote, who I am is the best daughter in the world. And what I realized is I hadn't talked to my mom in 3 weeks, but I hadn't woken up to that because I was unconscious of it until I wrote that's who I am in the world. So I wrote down, I grabbed my day timer, and I wrote down in my day timer every Sunday morning at 9, call your mom. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it kind of created an existence system for me that didn't exist before because I wasn't even conscious of who I was being. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Like once I got that I was the best daughter in the world, then I could take action to be the best daughter in the world. So if you're writing down, like I don't have it in front of me, but say for Snowfall Films, if whatever Kate and I's commitment was to you as an investor or to the industry, and this is what we wanted to bring to the party, you know, mm-hmm. in this world of entertainment from our playground here, you know, in our sandbox, then it kind of had you really look deep into, you know, what was that going to be? And then once you realize what that was, then you could bring that into existence, into being, and then create an existence system for it, for ongoing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Isn't that cool?
It is very cool. And it's a really good way for you to kind of figure out what you stand for, who you are, and what you want to do. So it's very, very cool. Now, should you speak to a sales agent or a distributor before you start production?
Oh my God, I'd say start now.
While you're thinking about the idea.
Yeah, if I'm even thinking of moving to Hollywood, if I'm even thinking of producing a movie, I'm not kidding. They are your first best friend, mm-hmm. okay? Your first one. If you don't know them, what I always say to people, if you need to know people, you know, quickly, then call one of the guilds or Women in Film or whoever, whatever, any organization, and say, I will put a panel together of sales agents for your organization. Mm-hmm. And then you'll get to meet, you know, the 5 or 6 or whatever sales agents that you want to meet. They're important, even if you end up not using them. Mm-hmm. They're important because in fact, I went through this with a friend of mine, a producer, on the phone yesterday, because he had not done that. And he already made up his list of actors. And I said, what did your sales agent say about those actors? And he's going, well, what do you mean? I'm not going to have a sales agent for another year, Suzanne. The movie's not even done. We're just looking at, and I'm going, yes, you think those are great actors, and maybe they're really great on that TV show that you happen to love, but are they going to sell the territories around the world? So you've got to get to know those sales agents. That's the first thing, is because you're going to need help with that. I'm not saying they're going to guide you through that whole thing. No, you do your homework. You know, my movie's $200,000. It's a sci-fi movie. Obviously, I want some people of note from the sci-fi world. You know, here's my list. Then you'll show your potential sales agent a year from now. Show them now. You know, and they may say, no, he doesn't mean anything anymore. No, this person, yeah, they sell Asia, but they don't sell the rest of the world. Well, is Asia enough? Well, maybe it is. Okay, you know what? Let's keep them on the list. You know, like, have that conversation with them now. That's one thing. The second thing is sometimes they can even guide you as to what you might want to even put in your script, what might be selling, what you might want to highlight. Is this genre selling right now? Of course, you don't know what's selling a year and a half from now, of course. But I mean, sometimes they can say, listen, there's a glut of those right now. I would probably step back and maybe do your rom-com instead of your horror film right now. So they have a good sense of the business that you don't know about necessarily.
The funny thing is that because you can tell sometimes now, specifically in Hollywood, that they are catering to the Asian market so much more heavily now.
Yes.
Where like a movie like Pacific Rim, the sequel to Pacific Rim, the only reason it got greenlit for a sequel because it did very well in China. So what did they do in the sequel? It takes place near China. It has Chinese heroes. It has it was just like so over the top. And I was like, wow, and Transformers did the same thing. And, Iron Man sneaks in, a scene in Asia, with an Asian character, but they're selling that territory. It makes them help sell that territory.
Exactly. But see, you might not know that. You as the producer or the creative type or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Or the writer who wants to produce or actor who wants to produce or director who wants to produce, you're thinking, you're not thinking that. You're focusing on the script. I'm not saying don't take off. Alex, I'm never saying don't take off the creative hat. Jesus, you need to go through development and you need to look at who you want and who your director is going to be and your line producer and your budget. Yes, of course, you want to be smart about doing all that stuff. But at the same time, you've got to do this simultaneously because it could mean, making changes in your script. It could mean, putting in an actor, like you said, who's Asian right now. But you might not know about what's going on in Asia to the degree that your sales agent knows. And they know. I remember one time I didn't have an actor on my list. And I remember when the sales agent, when Germany was the biggest country, not long ago, obviously. Mm-hmm. But when the sales agent and the sales agent said, well, how come so-and-so, I can't remember who it was, is not on your list for this budget? And I said, well, because he's like, it's like 20 years ago. What are you saying? Like, I haven't even heard of him in 20 years. They said, Suzanne, he's the biggest name in Germany, the biggest country, the biggest sale. And I said, excuse me?
You mean David Hasselhoff?
No, it wasn't Hasselhoff. No, it wasn't actually. No, but that's funny because it could have been, but it wasn't. But I mean, it's I didn't know that, right? Mm-hmm. So I added him to the list, and then obviously you discuss all that with your director because then you might say, did the director, here are the 5 names that the sales agent approved. Who do you want in order of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Especially on the under $1 million. A lot of time, you think it's it's a director's medium. Well, certainly not under a certain budget level because I think at any budget level, your sales agent will help guide you in terms of the cast. But certainly you as the producer have got to be smart. And I had somebody say to me recently, well, Suzanne, why can I even talk cast? The director's not even on board yet. And I said, well, no, but you can at least have your list ready for him or her when they do come on board. Mm-hmm. So get to know the sales. The other thing to get to know the sales agents is so many sales agents now, Alex, are actually production companies. Mm-hmm. So they're a lot of time providing not just the pre-sales, but I mean, they're actually putting equity in. So I would really get to know a lot of them, as many as you can. I think I know probably 80% of all sales agents in the world, honest to God. And in many cases, I still stay in touch with a lot of them. I mean, there's certain ones, obviously, depending on the genre. Right now, I'm doing a thriller. The next one is a family film. So you might be dealing with different sales agents, depending on the genres, of course, that you're doing and the budget sizes that you're doing. But still, the trick is to stay in touch with them. Even if you're thinking, because somebody said to me recently, Suzanne, I have no intentions of going that route. None. I'm going to self-distribute. I'm not saying that's not a good thing. I'm saying it's still a good thing. In fact, self-distribution is probably the way to go these days. And we can talk a little about that too. But what I'm saying is do both. You know what I mean? Yes, prepare your script for that. Prepare your marketing for that. If you're self-distributing, prepare yourself for that. But at the same time, you still need to, it's still eventually going to get to the world. So you still need who that name actor is in that genre at that budget level. So you still need to hear from the sales agent. You still are going to need estimates for your investor, right? That sales agent. You may change your mind down your road when you realize just how much work it might be to that's what happened to a friend of mine. He said, to hell with this after a few months. And that's when he gave it to a sales agent. But he ended up making some wrong choices because he didn't know any sales agents because he was so determined to self-distribute. So I'm saying do both. Find out. Yes, find out everything about self-distribution, of course.
Now, we'll be right back to the show in just a minute, but we got to pay some bills. So I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Blackbox. Blackbox is a new platform and community that is all about financial freedom for filmmakers like you. If you join Blackbox, you will be transformed from being a worker to being a maker of your own content. And you'll be making steady passive income from the global market. Blackbox currently allows you to upload your stock footage once, get it to many global agencies, and then allows you to share that passive income stream with your collaborators. Whether you want to submit old footage that's been sitting around in your hard drives or create brand new content, Blackbox is for you. It's really quite revolutionary. With Blackbox, filmmakers can concentrate on making great content while Blackbox takes care of all the business BS. Just visit www.blackbox.global to find out more. And now back to the show. Well, let's talk a little bit about the pluses and the minuses of self-distribution, because I talk a lot about self-distribution and empowering the filmmaker, and there are so many more options now than there was 5 or 10 years ago for filmmakers. But it's not for everybody, and it's not for every budget, and not for every movie. So can you talk a little bit about your experience with that?
Well, yeah. I mean, I on the last one, we on Time Toys, we did plan ourselves for both. And I had the kind of the pleasure of interviewing RB, who owns Stage 32, because he was writing a book at the time. We're from the same publishing company, so we all kind of know each other, as you know. And so we're all with
Michael
Focus. We're actually Focus Press. Yeah, a whole bunch of us together. So I brought him in to speak to my class at Columbia College about crowdsourcing, because all I'd ever heard of was crowdfunding, right? And he had a book coming out, so I said, "Would you come in?" And of course, I got to read the first 4 chapters because we all have to read each other's work, right? Because we're with the same company. So, and I was blown away. And I brought him in to speak to the class, blown away again. And then, I ended up introducing him to the person that I was working with, the director on Time Toys, because I was so impressed. So what he recommended in one of the chapters that I read was to start early, super early in the world of self-distribution by even affecting your script. And in the book, and I'm going to get this wrong because this was a couple years ago because I read it way before it came out. It's out now, by the way. It's phenomenal. Crowdsourcing. So what I did is what he said in the book, one of the people he interviewed, and I'm going to make a mess of it. But anyways, the bottom line of it was they were keeping this in mind during the script stage while they were doing the rewrites, and they decided to make one of their characters, I believe it was a vegan, either raw vegan or vegan. Well, just so you know, veganism went up just last year alone in America.
Oh, I know. I am one, so I know.
But in America, Alex, 1,000. We're talking America.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking, McDonald capital of the world, right?
Sure.
1,000%. In America. So these guys, this was a few years ago, but that's what they were planning for. They knew that kind of explosion was happening, so they decided, and they started a blog. And by the time that blog was done, and by the time the movie was done, a year, because the movie comes out like a year and a half later, right? Because they did this in the very early stages of the rewrites of the script. They had a couple 100,000 people in that psychographic. Years ago when Kate and I started, it was called demographics back then, right? Nowadays it's psychographics, and it's how many psychographics can you get to a year to 2 years before your movie even comes out. And then maybe you make another character such and such or whatever, and you start a blog about that. Or that's one way. I mean, I've interviewed people myself, actually. There's many, many ways to be smart about this. But what I'm saying is, and that's one of the talks I had yesterday to the producer I was talking to on the phone, is start now. Yes, I know the rewrite's done, but maybe really look at who is that demographic, that psychographic. If there's that chance for self-distribution, how can you start now knowing that you could have 500,000 people a year and a half from now? And maybe if at the time, Alex, you decide you don't want to self-distribute, it's too damn much work, you say at the time, it doesn't matter, because if you've got 500,000 fans waiting for the movie, then you're going to have sales agents knocking on your door.
Of course.
And a better chance to negotiate and bring their percentages down and so on. So, it's only a win-win for you. But I'm saying it starts in the script stage. So that's the main thing I have to say about self-distribution. But the other thing would be to get RB's book, obviously, on crowdsourcing.
He's been on the show already, and we talked. Well, he's been
cool.
He's the record, by the way. He's been on the show 7 times.
Oh
7 times he's been on the show, and the last one was to promote his book. So
nice.
We've spoken.
That's great.
Yeah, he's great. RB's great, and of course he's in my movie, On the Corner of Ego and Desire. As a producer in it, and he kills it in that movie.
That's so cool. I love that.
He's amazing.
That's great.
But that's a whole other story for another time. So
okay, so that's enough on that.
So how do you deal with SAG on a micro budget feature? Because SAG is this big monster that a lot of filmmakers think about. They're like, oh, it's the union. I don't know what I'm going to do. They're scared to death of SAG. And I was one of those guys. And when I first was coming up and I never dealt with them before, I literally feel, you literally feel like, the SAG police is going to come and get you. If you don't do everything right. And it's so not that way. And I want you to kind of,
not at all.
I want you to demystify it a little bit for everybody.
Okay, good. Now, let's be really honest. Even if it's a low budget, let's take Candy Stripers, for example, our first horror film. It was the SAG ultra low, $200,000, right? At the time, I think it's $250 now, but back then it was $200. But here's the thing. When you read the script, it's like definitely a $5 to $10 million movie, and we were going to do it for $200,000. So Kate and Jill rewrote it based on our table read and took it from 68 characters to 33. But we couldn't get it less than 33. So if it's 33 in quite a few locations, just so you know, so that is obviously not SAG. Okay, that's not SAG. If you're going to get over 15 actors, then you want to start to look at. And your budget size is the ultra low or below the ultra low, then you want to be very smart. Does this have to be SAG? What we did, Alec, in the case of Candy Stripers is, and Kate had been an actor, thank God, before this. So she was, I learned a lot actually on Candy Stripers in terms of the casting, because I'd been so used to doing it ourselves, but in the movies that were 5 to 10 million, this was the first time we'd ever dealt in this world, right? So with the 200,000, anyway, so she said, Suzanne, it just means instead of seeing 200 or 300 people in the week, we're going to see 500 this week. And we're going to see them about every 2.5 minutes instead of every 5 to 10 minutes. And I'm going, okay. And we also, because SAG had something at the time, I don't know if it's still around or not, that was called, and I can't remember what it was called, where the actors don't have voting rights, but they are a SAG member without the voting rights, but it means that they can work on non-SAG movies. And I can't remember what the word is called.
It's
Alex.
it's not SAG eligible.
No. It's a word. It's a different word at the beginning. Anyways,
got it.
I can't remember. Anyways, it's in my book, and I think we mentioned in the video. I'm not sure, but anyways, I actually mentioned it to somebody the other day. That's so funny. So, and so we ended up seeing some phenomenal actors. But some of those weren't even the SAG, whatever that word is. Some were just happened to be just really good actors. Now, we had to see 500 actors in order to pick our 5 or 6 kids, our 19-year-olds or whatever, right? Because these were supposed to be, I think, first or second year university students or whatever. So, but we saw 500 people, but we did it ourselves, and it didn't cost anything, and it wasn't SAG, and it was, and it was fine. So, however, if your movie is something where you don't want to go through 500 people kind of thing and do all that stuff, where you're saying, no, it's only, Suzanne, it was written, for this purpose. So it's only 9 characters, like Seance. There's a perfect example. Seance was, a big writer, obviously at the time, and he was directing his first film, And so we thought, you know what, let's go a little fancier with this and let's make it, easier for him too. So that's when we said, let's do SAG. And because we were able to, it was only 9 or 10 characters. Well, so it was easy.
Let me throw this scenario at you, because a lot of people listening are not even in the world of $200,000, $200,000, $250,000 movie. I'm talking about more about a micro budget, meaning a $10,000 movie, a $50,000 movie. And let's say they don't want to populate the entire show with SAG, but maybe they're getting Eric Roberts.
Yes.
And Eric Roberts is SAG, or Danny Trejo, or one of these actors, right? That helps sell the movie. Yeah. And the rest of them will be non-union, but that one actor in the whole movie is going to be SAG. How do you deal with that? What's the process of becoming that SAG signatory?
You
need to do?
That you might want to talk to them about, because I would probably not do that. To me, if I don't know if you can do a half signatory. Mm-hmm. You don't do a signatory for your company, not ever. Not ever. It's only for the company of the film, like Candy Stripers LLC, Seance LLC, right? Mm-hmm. Like that, never Snowfall Films, would be a signatory. Mm-hmm. So first of all, there's that. Then, secondly, if you decide that Seance is going to be signatory, it's signatory. Now you can talk to them about, can you just do the one actor and do all non-SAG? Yeah. Talk to them about that. They're very good. I know you said it was kind of to demystify. They do classes. I believe it's every second Thursday or one Thursday a month or whatever. The first thing I did when we knew we were doing these SAG movies here in the United States is I decided to go and get educated. And I had a whole list of questions. Mm-hmm. So I would recommend that. Go to that seminar that they give. It's free.
Right.
And
go ahead.
Okay, so that's the first thing I would say. And then get to know some of those people. We had great point people. I never had any issues ever with SAG. So for example, let's get back to the signatory. So then let's say Seance is signatory. But because it was low budget, because it's under a certain amount, in your case you're talking the micro budget, so it's definitely under a certain amount, we were allowed quite a high percentage, I have to tell you, Alex, of non-SAG. So for example, let's take Portal, just because that's in my mind as well. There was 16 characters in Portal, and I remember distinctly one of the characters. It was, I forget who it was, but it was only 4 or 5 days that he was going to be coming in, and I remember looking at these 2 actors were equally as good. They were in our top 2. Right, of everyone who auditioned. And I turned over their headshots, and one was non-SAG and one was SAG. So we went with the non-SAG. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So we were just very careful to go with as many non-SAG as possible, and as many as we could that they gave us the percentage to do. But you can talk to them if you want to do where it's just Eric Roberts, period. Can they do that? Or when you're signatory, is it full signatory with the percentage of non-SAG?
And also, I've heard of other movies. I know this for a fact that when you have a budget of $5,000 or $10,000, that's not considered a serious movie in many hallways in Hollywood. And SAG would not even look twice at you. What they do a lot of times, and this is, again, I've heard, is that they kind of go out and shoot the movie, then become a SAG signatory after the fact, because at the beginning they basically say, look, I don't even know if we're going to make how this movie's going to turn out, if it's going to even be a movie, because it's literally so low budget that we really don't know what we have.
No, and SAG, I would say absolutely not. I would say no.
And SAG,
go ahead.
SAG has no problems doing that. And when we spoke to SAG, when they spoke to SAG, they said, look, it happens all the time, especially with comedies, when a bunch of comedians get together on the weekend and start shooting a bunch of footage, and all of a sudden, oh, look, we have a movie, kind of thing. So there is that avenue, and it does that. I've heard that work as well, but I just wanted to hear your thoughts.
I wouldn't do it. Here's the thing. If a bunch of comedians get together on the weekend, and do it, sure, absolutely. And then call SAG first thing, 9:00 Monday morning, not a moment later. Okay. Right. However, if it's not a bunch of comedians getting together, if it's actually something where the script is being written and it's being thought out as to, yes, this is a 10-minute movie, I hope it turns into something, whether it be a series or whatever, then I would say no. To me, I don't care. If it's your visa and you don't give a shit, it's going to be just some fun for you to put on YouTube, whatever,
sure,
or however you want to do it. Once again, maybe I don't care as much, but if you are using SAG or union people, I would still be cautious. To me, I treat the unions like I do the government. I don't mess around. If they've got rules and regulations that have been running for 100 years, I will follow those rules and regulations. I may not agree with them, but I will follow them.
Fair enough.
So I am all about the paperwork. If you would say to me, oh, Suzanne, you know what? It's going to cost you $45 to send to Washington, to get your script, what do you call, to get the copyrighted, don't bother. It's not worth the paper it's written on. Save the $45,
Absolutely
put it on
not.
the screen. What would you say to me, Alex? What would you say?
Absolutely not.
Well, there, and would you? Yeah, absolutely not. Because it's like you just want to do things right. And what's the problem? Why not call SAG and say, listen, this is only $10,000. It's not my visa though. It's my family's visas. It's kind of thing. It's like if it's somebody that you do want to pay back, Alex. If it's yours, once again, maybe you don't give a shit. I don't even know if I'd put it on YouTube. I think I'd be nervous if I were a SAG actor. But anyways, maybe say to them, listen, here's the situation. It's only $10,000. Yes, I've got Eric Roberts because he's a friend of mine. Mm-hmm. But, or whatever, or my girlfriend is going to play in it and she's a SAG person. So, I want to honor that. I want to find out what are the rules. And if I need to do something, even if it's one letting me off the hook, like I did one time with the WGA, where we couldn't come to terms because of the low budget. We ended up just doing a nice letter together where it was like, okay, here's how we're going to make it all work for you,
Yeah, and from what I understand nowadays, SAG is not the SAG of yesteryear. They are very open. They are very helpful,
exactly,
especially on low budgets, and they will guide you through the process. So it is definitely something that you can go after. But it just depends on what you're doing. It all really depends on what you're doing.
It does. Yeah.
Now, what is an EPK, and can you explain why you need one?
Oh, the EPK. I know it sounds old fashioned, doesn't it? The EPK.
Yeah, so funny.
As soon as you say it, I'm going back to Wales, like shooting in Wales with our EPK people.
And
there.
you also need a beta SP master. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Hello, that's all the information. I remember all that. Good grief. Oh God. So yeah, the EPK is but you still need it today. In fact, a few years ago, you even needed it when you sent your everything off for film festivals, for heaven's sakes. They would even ask for the EPK. Mm-hmm. Basically, nowadays, it's more social media. Back then, it was you'd wait. Nothing went out in advance. Everything was secretive, in fact. Remember?
Sure.
In the old days. So you might, like I remember in my first one, your EPK person, your person who came in, your electronic press kit, by the way, is what it is. So she would come in, your PR person, who was handling all that stuff, and she would be interviewing Chris Walken for all the various, radio or TVs around the world. And Naomi Watts or whoever we were, shooting at the time. And she would, but none of that stuff went public until we were going to be starting so we were starting the teasers like a month before the movie came out or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. That was the old days where it's like you did all the pictures, you got everything all ready, but nothing happened until a few months before the movie was coming out. And only then would a website go up, and then would all that stuff start to go around to the press and so on and so on. Mm-hmm. Nowadays we start, like 2 years before, right?
If you're smart, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So you start getting all that ready. For example, with Time Toys, we brought on a social media person, something like for 4 months before we started shooting. 4 months before, because we said to her, we want to create a strategy. What can we do? Can we have a contest during the movie? Can we do it? We started kind of coming up with all kinds of things. It was almost like pre-marketing, but stuff that we were going to be needing to shoot during the movies. And how do we do an EPK nowadays? For example, years ago, you would do a 15-minute interview with Chris Walken. Now, on Time Toys, we did little 10-second, 30-second shout-outs, 20-second shout-outs, 2-minute interviews. I don't know if anybody was interviewed longer than 2 or 3 minutes. So because now you're starting to, put that stuff on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, whatever, sure, during the shooting. Like she would do a little, shout out for the movie. Wow, even though the movie is not going to be out for a year, during the shooting, here she was each day, putting stuff out there, like building that audience, and using their, we had some stars, some of our kids on I hate to call them kids now, oh my God, on Time Toys. they were already, stars in various TV shows and stuff like that. So they were then, twittering all over the place. And so you start early. So that EPK, your electronic.
Sorry, the twittering all over the place. I just find that funny. When you say it, for some reason, it's just funnier when you say it. Because I can't stand saying the word. I tweeted him. It just drives me nuts. But it's
me too.
the world.
I can't do it either.
But it's the world we live in. But you were like twittering everywhere. It was very nice. Continue. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's okay. That's funny. Oh God. And then the other thing with your EPK, in a sense, I would kind of put in with that are the photos that are happening, because your EPK person a lot of time on the set will be talking to your photo person. And for me, sometimes it's that photographer who's doing all of it. It just depends on your budget size. But
or your iPhone, or using your iPhone,
or your own iPhone.
Really great pictures. I'm telling you.
Yeah, nowadays I think probably using the iPhone more than anything. But here, I just want to get back to the photos for a minute. What happened on one of our movies a few years ago is I wasn't paying attention to the photographer, and I had not discussed it with him in advance, because sometimes you just assume that people know. But he was new, he was a friend of someone's or whatever, and he was very new. He was a phenomenal photographer, but new to the industry. So it came time for, of course, the wrap party. We had over 500 phenomenal photos, Alec, for on a whatever, with a loop, having a ball at the wrap party, right? Then about a month or two later, we get the sales agent. The sales agent, part of the delivery, is Suzanne, can I have your photos? I said, oh God, photos, no problem. I got over 500 photos. They said, well, no, just the money shots. All we care about really are the money shots. No behind the scenes, no nothing, just the money shots. Alec, of those over 500, you're supposed to send 60, right? 60 are supposed to go to sales agents.
Right.
I had 22. That's all. All the rest were behind the scenes. Nowadays, however, they do want some behind the scenes. And nowadays, with your own social media, you want to send in a bunch of behind the scenes all over your everything, Instagrams and the whole thing, right? However, your sales agent still needs 50 or 60 money shots. So just make sure when you're hiring your EPK person, your photographer, your all of this interviewing, kind of all that stuff happening in the photos and everything, make sure you are not just getting them doing, oh, isn't that fun? The camera's behind her and let me get her here. No, make sure you're getting what are called the money shots. Oh, the monster finally kills the person, or they finally capture the monster. So make sure you're getting that. Here's the other thing too, is we didn't have a publicity photographer budget in a lot of those low budget movies. So what we did is I brought a white sheet in from home. We put it up on the wall, and our photographer, who was actually a good photographer, did everybody dressed up like one by one, looking left, looking right, looking down, looking up. So you want to get all of your main actors that are going to be on the potential poster, also not just in the money shots you're shooting during the day, but also as stuff that you'll need clean to send to the sales agent who will be using it then for the poster. So, so that's why that stuff's important, to look at. I think, one of the bottom lines is, as we're talking, this is a lot of information going out to people. Make sure you get a mentor. Make sure you watch, the video that Alex and I did, or get the book, I wrote on indie film producing, and the books on no budget film producing or micro budget filmmaking. Get to know the language. For some reason in this industry, Alex, I think what happens is people think, well, I've been a lawyer in New York, for 40 years, and now I'm going to go out and make some movies, and I'm going to do this or that or whatever. Right. I'm a smart guy. I'm a smart gal. I know what I'm doing, So, I mean, we kind of have that mindset. And I'm saying that would be like me buying a new knife set, right? A really good quality knife set, and going, you know what, Alex? I've always wanted to be a heart surgeon. I've never taken a class, and I don't think I need to.
But I've seen it on TV. I've seen it on TV, though.
I've seen it enough on TV.
It's fine.
Yeah, and I've got a good sharp knife. It's pretty sharp, actually. And Alex, if you don't mind, I'd like to practice on you. Is that okay? This afternoon, are you free? You would think you'd want to call the loony bin, right?
Sure.
Well, that's the same thing when people are out here saying, I talked to somebody the other day, and she was saying she wanted to produce. She knew nothing, not one word that I mentioned did she know what that meant. Right. So get educated, do the research, get a mentor, watch the videos, nowadays everything is available. So, I mean, go into this with your eyes open.
And speaking of that, we have a course, don't we?
No,
It's amazing.
No way.
So I know the tribe has heard about the course that that you and I made. I've spoken about it a bunch of times on the show. But I want you to talk a little bit about the independent filmmaking producing's masterclass with Suzanne Lyons, and I do a guest spot. So talk a little bit about the course and what we did with it.
Okay, good. Of course, the main thing is the guest spot with Alex,
obviously,
right?
Well, obviously,
that's why you want to get.
That's 30 minutes of gold. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, and actually, guys, it really is, because he really emphasizes post-production, which is another area, Alex, that most of us as producers don't know anything about.
That's a whole other podcast. That's a whole other podcast.
That's right, exactly. Anyways, so what had happened is, to start it off, is I had written a book for Focal Press back in, I think it came out in 2012, on indie film producing, because there was actually nobody had written a book on the under $1 million, the SEG Ultra Low, the SEG Modified, all that kind of thing. So I wrote this book and I taught a shitload of courses, and independent courses and, courses of 50 people and so on. But I was getting busier and busier, and I just didn't have time to teach anymore. And people said, "Oh, I love the book, but I want more. I want the program. I want some of the stuff that's in the book, some of the contracts." So finally I talked to Alex about it and told him I was pulling my hair out, right? And you said, "Okay, let's videotape a class." So we actually I did a class of about 20 people, and Alex came in and did an amazing job. Thank you, Alex, of videotaping it and making me look good, which was a challenge in and of itself. And so it's probably around 5 or 6 hours. And it's really me going through every piece of the book. Once again, most of the time when we say, "Oh my God, I'm going to make a movie, it's 150,000 and this is so exciting." It's like saying, "Alex, I want to lose 20 pounds this year as my New Year's resolution." And the first thing I do is go to the fridge, right? It's kind of like when something is so big, when you're looking at only the big picture, sometimes it's so daunting and so scary and so terrifying that you kind of run in the other direction. So, or go blank, like I did one time. It's like, months went by and I went, "Oh yeah, what was I doing now?" It's like when you get scared, kind of go down the rabbit hole. So anyways, what I did in my book is I broke it down into what are called bite-sized pieces, little blocks, if I'm looking at the cover of the book now. So it's little tiny pieces. Okay, let's just worry about the option agreement first. Let's just look at that. Yes, break it all down. Yes, you're going to be, a year and a half from now, you're going to be at AFM selling your movie, but let's back time that whole thing exactly, whatever, what would that be, 14 months. Great, from today, July 3rd. So, let's back time it all. And so that's what I did is once it's all broken down into little pieces, and that's what the video does. The video literally says, "Okay, everybody calm down. Yes, we're all going to make a movie, but let's go through and do piece by piece by piece. Given we've back-timed it all, obviously the first thing is that option agreement, that script that we love. Then the development comes after that. Then we kind of go through it all. And what's so great about and I take my time, as I said, it's around 5.5 to 6 hours. So I'm guiding you through the whole thing, literally from the moment we option that screenplay. Alex, I think I even went into not just delivery and getting, your sales agents and all that stuff, but I even did accounting and taxes, right? I even went another year later, I think, film festivals. I mean, we did the whole gamut in that class.
Yes, we did.
And it was great because it was me kind of talking to them. There were real students with real questions, and they were getting the full binder, on everything. And what Alex and I decided to do for you guys is it's the cost of the usual mastermind, which is $90. But what Alex said is, let's throw in a bonus packet for free. So that's in there, and that's got to be $3,000 to $5,000 worth of stuff. It's your cast deal memo and various deal memos and
agreements
my whole business, Alex, the business plan we talked about at the beginning. That's in there. That's one of the 20. There's 20 items that you get for free as part of that packet, and I think we did it. In Word.
We did it in Word and PDF, so you can go in there and change things up and add it for your own.
That's cool.
It is
brilliant.
Literally a treasure trove if you're making a feature film of everything you need, contracts, agreements. Obviously, you always want to talk to a lawyer first, but it's a good starting off point, and just stuff it's basically turnkey almost.
Yeah.
Follow these steps. This is what will happen.
Yeah, very good. My God, it's and it really is true. I mean, and I started teaching this. Oh God, a long time ago, around 12 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been hundreds of movies made. I get calls all the time. Coming to the screening. I followed your class. Here it is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been proven through all the courses I taught to hundreds of people,
mm-hmm.
and then all the books that have sold and people that have used it to make their movies. So this is even better than all of that because it's all a concise 5.5 to 6 hours of me going through the entire thing, and you get that nice packet.
And I threw in a couple bonus things in there as well.
Oh, nice.
From the podcasts and stuff like that.
Cool.
That you can learn some more stuff from as well. So I'll put a link to in the show notes for the course. But if you just want to go right away, it's just producingmasterclass.com, and you can go right now. It's $90, and it is, my God, a bargain at that price point. It's
crazy.
But I wanted, and I hounded, by the way, guys, I hounded Suzanne to do this
for years,
for a while. I'm like, Suzanne, just let me film. Please let me film you. Please, we got to do this. Please let me film. You'll never have to do another one of these again. Just let me film you, and we'll put it up. And it took us like almost a year and a half to get the whole damn thing done.
We've been both so busy. We've both been like producing,
doing things. I'm shooting a movie. You're shooting movies. We're doing stuff, and it's just been like slowly, like every 3 months, like. So how's the course going? I'm like, we're getting there. It's going to happen one of these days. I promise you. And
it's done.
It's done finally. But it's definitely well worth your time. So thank you. And Suzanne, thanks again for being on the show. I really appreciate it. I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions.
Yeah. First of all, I just want to mention the blog too, Alex. On your site, Alex had asked me to do about 25 blogs, guys, on all industry-related stuff. So please go and check out the blog, which is under my name on Alex's site as well.
It's in the producer's corner. So if you go into film production in the at indiefilmhustle.com, you'll see in the corner at the top, it says producer's corner. And that's all of her articles. And they are amazing. It's like a book in itself. So it's really, really valuable information that's free. That you could just take a look at. Now I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions that I ask all my guests, so prepare yourself. What is the advice you would give? Quick answers. What is the advice you would give a filmmaker wanting to break into the business today?
Get a mentor.
Okay. Absolutely.
That would be the bottom line. Get a mentor. You don't have to be a Lone Ranger. There's over almost 8 billion of us on the planet now. That's a clue from God saying you don't have to do this alone. Get a couple of mentors. God's giving you a clue, right?
Exactly.
You don't have to be a detective. Yeah.
Now, can you tell me what book had the biggest impact on your life or career?
Oh, shit. Oh, God. You said no hard questions, Alex.
I said nothing of the sort.
God, I would have. Oh God, there's
hundreds.
So many.
I know, but one that pops into your head.
It's so funny. The first one that popped into my head, I would have to say, is Jack Canfield.
Yeah.
Seven secrets to success or something.
Something along those lines. Yes, it's a great book.
I've read it a number of times, and I'd say the other one is Creativity Inc. If you haven't read that, oh Lord God, I read it 3 times.
It's
both of them 3 times.
Book.
Oh my God, by the head of one of the heads of Pixar.
Capital.
Oh my God, unbelievable! Even if you're not in the entertainment industry, you've got to read Creativity Inc. or get it. I got it for everybody for Christmas a couple of years ago, as well as Jack Canfield's. All my nieces and nephews got that one too.
That's great. It's a great book. Now, what is the lesson that took you the longest to learn, whether in the film industry or in life?
I think I'm still learning. Well, and I'll always be learning, I hope, till I'm 97. I went on to had my, had the thing done for Based on Your Health, 97.8.
Exactly.
So I'm going to be still learning, hopefully, right up until that time. I would say it's still to be more present, Alex, not just present to details, because I think that goes along with it. Now. Just to be in the now. Yeah. I mean, I know, and luckily I did Landmark, back in the 80s. So I'm well aware of all the be your now stuff. But as well aware as you are of it, it's still something you got to work on a daily basis. Be present to your friends and family and meetings. And, the more present you'll be, I think the more you'll have a joyful life and be successful in life,
The only thing we're promised is now.
Now, exactly.
That's the only thing you're promised, because tomorrow is not promised at all. And 3 of your favorite films of all time.
Absolutely love Little Romance. 1979 won the Oscar for the best music, is what I recall. Diane Lane, it's when my husband and I first fell in love and one of our first films together, 1979. Another one would be, oh my gosh, probably anything with Bruce Willis. I love Die Hard. I've seen Die Hard probably more than any other film.
Greatest Christmas movie of all time.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of Christmas movies, oh my God, there's so many good. Oh my God, like Love Actually, and I say The Ref. I'd have to put The Ref on there. One of my favorite Christmas movies of all time.
Dennis Leary. Yeah.
Oh, just Dennis Leary, amazing, and obviously
at the height of his powers. At the height of his powers.
At the height, yeah, it's really amazing. Yeah, but I've so many movies, and of course mine. I would have to say, and this is truth. Undertaking Betty. I have to say
that was a great little movie. I remember that movie.
Oh my God, I love British quirky comedies. That's my favorite of my whole life, and that happened to be my first movie. A crazy British quirky comedy
with a pretty decent
Brenda
cast.
Blethyn. It was so fun.
Pretty decent cast back then, no question.
That was fun. Yeah.
So Suzanne, and where can people reach out to you if they want to get a hold of you or follow you?
For me, I know I haven't updated my own personal sites actually in ages, but certainly a lot of my stuff is on your site, snowfallfilms.com, SuzanneLyons.net. The updated ones should be going up shortly. Actually, I've got my wonderful guy looking after that now. So snowfallfilms.com and SuzanneLyons.net. And I think all my phone number and everything is on there. Not in that office anymore if that's there, but my phone number is there. My email address is all, of course, there on Snowfall Films.
And do you do consulting anymore?
I haven't had a lot of time this year, but I've been busy. And last year I was in Toronto most of the time. But I can do privates. I just don't have as much time as I used to, but I still do some private coaching. And some people still insist on even a couple of hours, based on the book and the video. I still get a few people saying I still have to have some private time, whatever. So I still do a bit of consulting with that. So a little bit, yeah. Exactly. And also don't forget my YouTubes. I have 130 YouTubes on the YouTube that are all industry related. Suzanne Lyons, youtube.com/Suzanne Lyons.
I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
I'll put it in the show. Suzanne, thank you again. It's always a pleasure having you on the show. Thanks, know Alex. That we could talk for another 3 hours because I know easily could talk for another 3 hours. And make it into another course. But thank you. Thank you again so much for being on the show and sharing all these knowledge bombs with the tribe.
Thanks, Alex. All right. Thanks for having me. Talk to you later, everybody. Bye-bye.
I want to thank Suzanne for coming on the show and dropping some major knowledge bombs on the Filmtrepreneur tribe today. Thank you again so much, Suzanne. If you want to get links to anything we spoke about in this episode, including a 50% discount on our new course, The Complete Independent Film Producing Workshop, head over to the show notes at filmtrepreneur.com/045. And if you want to go directly to the course, just head over to producingmasterclass.com and use the coupon code IFHFilmProduce. All capital letters, IFHFilmProduce, and you'll get 50% off this amazing course, which is easily over 5-6 hours long and has over $20,000 worth of contracts and agreements that Suzanne used throughout her career that's been worked on with all of her attorneys over the years. And they're great templates for you to get started speaking to your own attorney about it. But it's really great stuff for you guys to take a look at. And it is in Word and PDF file format, so you can adjust if you want to go in and edit them out, you can. It is an amazing, amazing value. Thanks again for listening, guys. As always, be a filmtrepreneur. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Filmtrepreneur podcast at filmtrepreneur.com.